All right, another episode, another week of life. We're back.
We're live.
Good to see you.
We're live.
We're live. Oh, episode 55. I actually had someone at Dutch Bros ask me, what are you doing this morning? And I told them I'm doing a podcast. They're like, what? Are you doing a podcast? Thought I was the coolest person in the world. It's like, it's really not that cool.
Which,
Let's calm down there.
male, female?
2 females.
Under 21?
I couldn't tell. One of them definitely was.
What time did you get there? Probably had to have been...
7:05.
So you're early morning man. You're good looking. You got style. To roll up in the Tesla. Like, what is this guy doing up so early?
Like, why
Doesn't make sense.
Like, why is he working on a Saturday? No, I'm just talking shit in the microphone.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I talked to Cal about that yesterday. He's like, man, everyone's got a podcast nowadays. And I was like, how many people in your network, other than your brothers, has podcasts? He's like, you're right.
Yeah, it's true.
It's like, you hear a lot of people talk about it. And listen, we have done nothing so far. We've got
Scratch the surface.
96
barely.
subscribers. We're having fun.
Yeah.
No way, shape, or form are we like the big dogs on the podcast map. But, you got to respect the getting up every Saturday and doing it. There's a lot of people who talk about doing podcasts and doing anything. They just sit on their ass.
Yeah.
They don't do anything. So
I kind of think it's easy too, and in a way it is easy. It's really accessible, but also it's like it takes time to produce everything and make it look good. And it's the discipline too of doing it every week.
And so when you told her, she's like, what do you guys talk about?
Yeah, and I've gotten this a lot. So I'm like, honestly, it's just me and my
you
brother.
got some milk on your lip.
All right. Audio only this episode. And I said, it's just me and my brother. We go out in the backyard and we just kind of talk about everything and anything, and sports, relationships, life. We talk shit. We locker room talk. But I asked her, what should we talk about? And she had nothing for me. So then
Give
I
me
wanted
my coffee. No wonder you're serving coffee.
Wanted to grab her by her bull nose ring. Pull her in close. Listen here, Sally.
Yeah.
Subscribe right now.
Yeah, did you share the link or tell her what it was?
I told her the episode. I was like, JOJ podcast, look me up.
We need to get some like business cards that have like QR codes.
Yeah.
You want the YouTube? Bing.
Put them in coffee shops.
Yeah, just like, hey, subscribe. No, I don't know if we can become those people.
Hey, I mean, that's not too hard.
Or we
to
could
do.
just start posting it random places on like light poles.
Yeah. Missing.
Yeah.
Click link. Missing
Yeah,
dog.
It could be like a cool graphic.
Like it's in the Yes Man movie.
Yeah. Take a tab. We've talked about that movie before on here. Yeah, it's a great movie. Man, it's nice this morning. The birds are chirping. The plants are being watered, taken care of.
Yeah. Played 18 holes of golf yesterday in the freaking heat. It didn't feel
how
that
bad is this?
brutal. Yeah, you're purple. You're 2 different tones.
That's 5 hours.
And you're saying you have it on your other arm too.
Yeah, not as bad.
I didn't really get that.
Not as bad on my right arm. Mainly because I was driving the golf cart and the sun was just always seemed like it was at my left.
Yep.
And so my left arm and probably my left side of my leg got, some pretty good sun. But, that's the price you pay. I'm not the one to, lather up a bunch of sunscreen. We're pretty anti-sunscreen here at the Robinson household.
Yeah, we are.
Regardless of how you feel, I actually had a former client of mine send me some selfies the other day. He's been dealing with like some skin cancer stuff his entire life, but he's like ginger, pale, Irish, so he's always very fair skinned. He's
got that blank slate.
Yeah, he just burns under the sun, and there are a few of y'all that do that.
Stay inside.
Yeah, stay inside.
Huddle up together.
Yeah. Huddle up around your light bulb.
Lock the door of the basement. We'll come down there when we need you.
Okay. Yeah,
You're
I'm
the
not
others.
afraid of getting sunburned, honestly. This is the price. I will happily take this. In 2 or 3 days, it'll be nice and golden brown.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of burn, but
I mean, Nick sent that study where it was like testosterone increase is crazy when you get sun. You know, he said sunning your nuts, though, which I've yet to do.
I mean, it's pretty much straight to the source.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I talked to this dude when I went to a farmer's market to buy some raw milk. It's like how every story starts off.
This is our target market right here.
And I talked to the guy who knew one of my other buddies who had been going there a bunch, and this was kind of the era of the carnivore Aurelius, the soul bra.
Yeah.
Probably 2.5 years ago. It was the summer of the soul bra.
And
we were talking to this dude who said that he either knew some pretty rich people who were starting a company that had I don't know the specific name for it, but you could pretty much wear underwear where sunlight could go through, like to sun your balls outside without.
God, give me a pair of those
being
right
naked.
now.
Yeah, and so I don't know if that company ever made off the ground, but I need a pair.
Yeah, I kind of went through a phase where I learned about having the polyester fibers wrapped around your nuts.
You
How that's you don't want that. And then I get cotton underwear, and you really can't find a good pair of cotton underwear, especially when you want to work out too. It's like, fuck, I might just take the
Yeah, you gotta
microplastics for a second.
You gotta take the skin tight.
Yeah, I got to.
Yeah, what's that? Joe Rogan does like some advertising for an underwear company.
MeUndies.
Yes, yeah.
I don't know if they're natural.
I feel like they probably should
You
be
would hope
decent.
so. Yeah, I might look them up, see, but
What T-shirt is that you got on right now? What brand is that?
this is a Kith,
Just
a cotton t-shirt, yeah. They fit really well. I've always kind of struggled finding the right fit. I think I'm a good large, shrunken. Shrunken large fits good.
So like one good wash,
Yeah.
one good dry.
But I always wash cold, and I only dry a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't dry my shirts anymore.
Yeah, you can't, because you'll...
You busted through the arm sleeves.
Yeah. You listen to any cool podcasts this week?
I listened to the did we talk about that yesterday or
The
last
Guy Fieri?
podcast? Yeah, that finished the Guy Fieri one. Really interesting cat. Just like a good overall human being who just seems like he was meant to work in the kitchen, and kind of his original slogan starting off was like real food for real people.
Yeah.
And just like trying to make things simple. And so I listened to that one, and then a little bit of the Aaron Rodgers one, which I know you mentioned you were kind of finishing up with, and I know he's always got some interesting things to talk about.
Yeah, definitely. He's got some stuff. Did Guy Fieri talk anything about like his health of like working out or anything like that?
A little bit. He said,
How is he?
I'm pretty sure
doing
he
that?
had a sister pass away from cancer. I think he's had
no.
some family cancer problems, and so he was discussing that a little bit. But yeah, I mean, eating healthy, and he obviously talked about that, and clean, natural, organic food, whole foods. But not so much like the working out side of things.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't look. Yeah, he's looked just like a normal dad. He doesn't look so overweight. I think he's probably gone through phases where he's been heavier and then been a little bit lighter. Because you got to imagine too, if
All
your
the
career is
food.
food, like it's pretty tough.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's like whenever I see like a big, like barbecue chef, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be good.
Yeah, oh
'Cause
yeah.
they're eating the supply.
They're getting high in their own supply.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Aaron Rodgers episode was good, and it just kind of reinforced a lot of the stuff, like, because we all went through COVID, and we all came to our own conclusions. That's kind of when the top was blown off of this whole thing for me. When I figured out that it's kind of all about money, and it's all a little evil, and you kind of have to look out for yourself in a different way, not trusting establishments. And I'm never trusting medical establishment ever again.
Yeah.
Never. Based on the fact that they were willing to jeopardize people's health for money, straight up. That was exactly what the COVID vaccine was. And so they talked about that. They talked about how autism might cause vaccines. Vaccines might cause autism.
Yeah, you may have it.
And yeah, and it really is crazy because now I'm like, dude, if I have a kid, we're not doing that shit. We ain't doing all 50 vaccines at one time. And I see it on my Instagram too. It's like a new video pops up, and it's like a guy telling his story where his kid is a perfectly good kid, and
I think the dogs are about to come outside. Bring them out here.
Oh, Star!
Oh, what's up?
Hello.
Good dogs.
Dogs just came outside. If you're just listening, there's 3 dogs in here. Star, chill. Oh. But like I was saying, I saw this video. This guy who's like, my little baby had so much light in his body and was such a good kid. And then we followed the doctor's recommendations and followed the vaccine schedule. And then the kid completely changed. And now it's autistic. So, and I know that's one story, but to be honest, I literally don't trust them. It's like someone breaks your trust. Like, why would you let that person back in?
Yeah.
Unless they can prove to you that they
That was a bee.
have changed, but it's just not. It's annoying.
And the other reality is, too, these decisions are irreversible. Like, you can't go back and take it out of your body. You can't change the effect.
No. From what I've heard, you can kind of mitigate it with certain supplements, but yeah, it's crazy.
But if you're like a toddler, going through these super important stages of growth, physically, with your brain, with your body, with your blood, with your bones, and you introduce a virus and pretty much just kill any growth in the baby, like, that's just not, we can't be having that.
And I don't know all the vaccines, but the Hep C or Hep B one, a sexually transmitted disease vaccine, giving that to a kid, it's kind of
that's
weird.
just for people who are having gay sex.
Yeah, maybe that too. But
I'm gonna give your kid the monkeypox.
What if the mom's like deciding he's gay? Let's give it to him. 'Cause I know my son.
There are parents who are like that.
Yeah. Another thing I saw was, and really, man, I'm kind of getting a little irritated with old Cash Patel.
Is this off the leash?
Yeah, let's go off the leash. Because Cash Patel, he looks like his eyes are just so wide open, and he's like batting his eyes back and forth. He looks psycho, and he looks like someone got to him.
You think so?
Yeah, and I watched the clip of him and Dan Bongino.
Yeah.
Saying that Epstein killed himself. It's confirmed. He did. Which, on the surface, could be true.
It's certainly a possibility.
But
it's too much of a coincidence, man.
It is. But if you did, whatever, it doesn't matter. Let's get to the actual meat of everything, and let's find out who is actually doing these horrible things to the children. Let's actually figure it out, and let's go down the list. Let's pick them out, and let's throw them in the gulag.
I think maybe the continuation of the Diddy case will kind of provide, I think, some linkage into some of the sex trafficking and human trafficking in Hollywood. Yeah, because there's got to be, I think these people know each other for sure.
Yeah. The higher-ups of the entertainment industry versus the higher-ups of the political and intellectual
Political apparatus. that's
Yeah.
pretty much running the world. I mean, there's a lot of crossover there.
Well, that's what they say. Maybe that's why they're not releasing it. It's because these people are in power right now. What if it's like breaking news? Fucking who's like a institutional person?
Taylor Swift.
Breaking news. Taylor Swift is being arrested. FBI is raiding her home. Travis Kelce's crying.
We've got live footage of Travis Kelce being arrested. Yeah, no. Taylor Swift has not been found of any crimes. I want to get sued.
I'm trying to think. Who would it be? It'd be like someone who's like in the political world.
It'd be Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just so many. I mean, the reality is, like, could you, if it is so foul and so, so terrible that these people who have been kind of fighting their entire, at least last few years to get this information out, and then they get the information, like, holy shit, like, we can't give this to the American public.
They're going to freak out.
But is it their...
It's not their right to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you can't withhold that information.
Yeah.
Same way, like, if they found out there was, like, alien intelligence, and it's like, well, if we tell the American people this, they're going to freak out. They're going to raid the grocery stores. People are going to go into a frenzy.
Yeah. So that could be why they're not doing it. I also think more of the reason that they're holding it close to the vest is because they can, blackmail the people that are, compromised. Like, if Trump and them know that, what's his name, Marco Rubio or someone like that is compromised, they basically can hold that over them and get them to do their bidding for the 4 years that Trump's in office. But then it's like, just the ethics of that. Like, just knowing that, yeah, it's crazy, because then the conspiracy theorists come out about Israel. Like, Jeffrey Epstein was working for the Mossad, the Israel intelligence, and then it's like, all right, well, he's dead now. Like, let's actually get the ball rolling on this. And then it's like, why not? People are saying maybe it's because we're controlled by Israel. But there's just so much weird stuff on the internet. Like, I saw this guy ask Charlie Kirk a question about the Jewish Bible. Bro, I don't know if this is true, but just the stuff in the Jewish Bible. Like, you can physically assault a person who's not Jewish and get away with it because that's allowed. Huh?
Need to pause.
Yeah, pause. So
We're back.
We're back. Just a little break. So I could go blow up the bathroom again. Just kidding.
From this mucus coffee.
Yeah, it'll give you mucus.
Yeah. Not good during the wintertime if you got sore throat.
If you got
a swollen lymph node.
breathing problem tendencies.
Yeah. Oh, but yeah, so I wanted to talk about that study that I know was discussed via Aaron Rodgers, Joe Rogan, and I had seen it earlier this week about the increased risk of developing Parkinson's disease with relation to how close you're living to a golf course. So let's just start from the beginning. 99% of people think, man, like, if you're living next to a golf course, like, you're doing good, it's beautiful, it's quiet, you got nature right there.
Yeah, it's nice living.
Manicured grass, manicured things, like, it should be pretty good. And it's still a relatively small study, and they're going to continue doing more to figure out, really how strong of a risk it is. But the pesticide runoff and the pesticide exposure into the drinking water, that's really the big problem, and it sucks. Like,
it's shocking, but at the same time, it's kind of like a metaphor for a lot of stuff in life where let's solve this problem. We want the golf courses to be free of pests. We want them to be nice and pristine. So when we Our customers come here, they have a good time, which is great. And, you know, there's no issues there, but you got to think about the negative externalities.
Yeah.
Like, what are the consequences of solving this problem in this way? Like, okay, our company has tons of toxic waste. How do we get rid of it? Solution, dump it in the river. But then you're like, well, that's negative because then the river goes down and gets filtered, but it doesn't really filter everything that people are drinking. It kills all the animals, the fungi in there. So I think it's shocking, but at the same time, it's like, well, honestly, yeah, makes sense. If they're really killing everything, it's going to go down. I remember when I was in Belize for a little bit, I was staying at this house that was literally like maybe like 15 miles away from like an industrial plant of some sort,
Mm-hmm.
and just going outside and it stunk. I'm like, what is this smell? I'm like, how do people live next to these things?
Yeah. Was it sulfur or something?
It might have been that. I don't know what
like
they
it
were
smelled
doing.
like shit. Like that strong
Yes.
rotten egg kind of smell.
Maybe it might have been that, but yeah, I think there needs to be kind of like an understanding of that, and there needs to be more studies. But like people say, like, oh, you live on the golf course, that's like a higher value property.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like, let's bring it down a little bit, because yeah, Parkinson's, is that basically where you lose function of your body?
It's like neurological. It's a neurological disorder, and you know, with Parkinson's disease and Alzheimer's, you know, typically a lot of the symptoms show up later in life when people are kind of going through just the natural decline of the body, usually in their 60s, 70s, 80s. You know, it seems very rare to find people who are in their 40s and 50s suffering from some of these neurological disorders. But Ben Greenfield and Max Lugavare, who went on Joe Rogan to talk about kind of the way that we study and test for Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, and how a lot of these tests don't give us the indication that these things are actually happening decades earlier. So, you know, someone who is, you know, diagnosed with Parkinson's at 80, you know, kind of what Max was showing is like, these things are showing up in their 40s and 50s, but we don't have the testing to get ahead of it. So we're always catching it late. And once it's started, it's hard to stop.
That's scary.
And so shout out to creatine monohydrate. They just did another study. Dr. Rhonda Patrick.
Yeah, she's great.
She's been a huge proponent of creatine supplementation, and there's a lot of physical benefits to it, but for the neurocognitive benefits, amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And specifically with prevention to a lot of these, you know, chronic kind of neurological deficiencies, creatine monohydrate kind of zaps it.
Yeah, it's probably one of the best supplements on the market, and it's the cheapest. Also, too, it's it keeps the brain all nice and juicy and gives all the brain and muscles extra hydration.
Mm-hmm.
Keeps the brain, like in all the water in the body, keeps you good. So I've definitely been taking it recently, 5 grams, but then after that clip of Rory and Scotty Scheffler, Rory was telling him, like, yeah, man, I do 20 grams. I do 20 grams before a match. And I'm locked in, mate.
I don't think he sounds like that.
What is he, Irish?
Yeah, he's Northern Ireland.
Floyd Mayweather.
That sounds a little bit more like McGregor.
But yeah, I've been on that at least 10 grams daily.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
if there's
good.
one supplement to give your parents, I mean, if you love your parents and you want them to be around, get them on some creatine.
Yeah. Sprinkle it in their coffee.
And that's also got to be too, you know, someone who's got that in your family, you know, Parkinson's or Alzheimer's, and, you know, it's one of the nastiest declines, you know, you have to kind of witness and manage. Because people just forget stuff. They don't know where they're at. They don't even remember their family. You know, it's brutal.
Horrible. Can't imagine
So we as a nation and a people have to do a better job of, I mean, it's just redundant. You know, we're super obese. We're metabolically sick. We're dumb.
Yeah.
Where, there's so many different problems going on with their health, and it's like, where do you start?
I think you got to break it down to the grassroots and really go holistic approach. Like diet's huge.
Yeah.
Like, and people say that cancer is basically just inflammation, overgrown inflammation. So when you think about what are the things you could do to reduce inflammation, just have a clean diet, exercise, sunlight. It's all the holistic, like basic, bare bones stuff. And really it's like a knowledge. People just need to be exposed to the knowledge of like understanding what's inflammation and what's causing their problems, because they've kind of been bamboozled by the media and all the advertisements, the bright colors and the food and just the naivete of the consumer to think that, oh yeah, these whatever it would be, like Hasbro, that might not be the right one. Nestle, yeah, all these Hershey, these companies are
Coca-Cola too.
Are just, their brand is so recognizable that they're actually good, but they're not. Not saying they should be eliminated.
Yeah.
But it just comes, that's the price of freedom.
Yeah.
The price of freedom is you can have a company make something that's so tasty and good, like a nice Pop-Tart. On the back end, it's like, all right, this Pop-Tart's killing you a little bit, right? It's a little bit bad for you. Don't eat it every day, but some people think that. They just get caught up in that. But that's the price of freedom. We have to have that. And then it takes the consumer to go out and get the knowledge to protect himself against that. So
I'm trying to find this post because I saw that they took, a lot of conversation recently has been around like food stamps and, welfare programs and the people who are on these programs, like how they're spending their money.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm pretty sure they took, I'm about to sneeze, but...
soda off of it?
Took soda off.
I actually heard about that.
But it was related to, like...
It's obvious.
Excuse me. Like a huge percentage of what these people are using their food stamps to buy. And so it's then, like, if you have the impoverished people constantly remaining sick because they're consuming these products that make them sick, God, we can't be doing that. And so, like, if you want to control a people, and we've talked about this a lot, what's the best way to, if you can control their food source, like, boom, like, you've got pretty much them on the hook.
Yeah.
Because if they can't eat, if they can't find a good way to eat,
they're not going to think right.
It's like, I'm going to do whatever to get this food. Well, now I'm broke, so whatever I'm going to get in surplus, and it's usually the things that are highly processed, highly contaminated, the ones that are colorful. And what bothers me too now is this whole, we're kind of in this wave now where like protein is like this huge like buzzword. You see it on every commercial. I mean, we were watching the basketball game last night, and DJ Khaled, who seems like he's been trying to lose weight for 20 years and hasn't lost a pound, advertising Nesquik. Nesquik, which is the milk, like the
fake
bunny
milk.
rabbit milk, and with the strawberry chocolate and vanilla. Yeah. And he's like, 14 grams of protein. Got these people like partying in this thing, and he's like, made with 100% real milk. 14 grams of protein.
It's a new Psyop.
And like, go get your Nesquik.
Don't fall for the Psyop.
Yeah, and if you I've walked down through the cereal aisles at Walmart many times, and you just look at like these bars and these, bags of granola or whatever else, and they always are highlighting like 8 grams of protein. It's like the big thing on there, and so people see that and they're like, oh, I've been told protein's good.
Yeah.
Let me get this, and you turn it around, and it's like 50 grams of fat for every 8 grams of protein. And that's just a terrible ratio to work in.
And all the extra ingredients in it that are bad for you. It's like they switch from low fat being like the slogan and the big thing on the box to, like you're saying, it's high protein. And, you got to get out of the mentality of looking at that and think, oh, it's good, just based on that. Flip it around. Check the ingredient. If you don't know what an ingredient is, don't eat it. Straight up.
Yeah.
If you want to be healthy, you got to eat like a predator.
Yeah.
and you can't freaking eat. Well, I don't even know what to say on that one. Like,
Can't be eating Pop-Tarts and oatmeal and cereal and expect to be performing at your highest.
Yeah, you're like the pig in the trough.
Yeah, getting the slops. Getting the contagion.
Yeah.
We should do like a rewatch of that and do a podcast on that one.
I'm down.
Probably
That'd be a fun podcast.
Maybe one of the more important movies. You know, we talk about like the silent disclosure a lot, and how in media and in entertainment these ideas come to the big screen, and it's usually things that maybe we've kind of heard before: alien invasion, civil war, bombings, shit like that.
Cyber attacks, EMPs.
Yeah, like that one with Leave the World Behind.
Yeah.
Just a pretty bizarre movie, but Contagion, I think it was 2012. It had to have been 2012 to like 2014. Matt Damon, Lawrence Fishburne,
Gwyneth
Paltrow. She's patient 1 or patient 4, I think technically.
She's in China.
Jude Law.
Okay.
Who is pretty much playing the Alex Jones character.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We got to rewatch that, yeah.
Yeah. It's a phenomenal movie. It's a scary movie. It's really uneasy to see kind of what happens when people start getting sick and the world gets shut down. And I mean, it's a freaky movie.
Kind of
before we really thought about any of this stuff.
Primed
to its grand scale.
Prime the people for COVID in a way, maybe.
Maybe. Because if you watch, I'm telling you, if you watch the movie and if you're in the know and you watch a lot of these interviews during COVID and you kind of had an alternative perspective versus just believing what was thrown at you, you're like, holy shit, this is like the same. It's like the same timeline, the same path of how everything went.
Jeez, man.
Where you had this journalist who's trying to find answers and they arrest him.
Because he's going against the narrative?
Yeah. And I think he found a vaccine for himself. I can't remember exactly, but that would be a good rewatch.
Yeah, I think we should do that. That'd bring some fun conversations and do the rewatchables.
Yeah. Well, I've been we talked about it the other day, but that Netflix documentary on the 9/11 stuff.
Oh, yeah, you were telling me a little bit about that.
I finished episode 2 last night, and it's like, it's so interesting because it is for us, the biggest terrorist attack that we've been a part of. I was 2 years old. You were three or four.
3,000 Americans died or something.
Yeah. And so I didn't know this, but I think it was in 1998. This guy's name, they called him KSM or Mukhtar. He was pretty much Osama bin Laden's right-hand man, the operational guy, the one who was on the ground, like, figuring out how to do this. And Osama bin Laden's role was kind of he was the leader of the group, but he was doing the financials, a lot of attack planning, stuff like that. And so they had multiple people that were involved. And in 1998, they bombed the World Trade Center for the first time through a van, an explosion. And his whole thing was wanting to topple the towers. And so they put this van up and they loaded it full of explosives. And one of the CIA analysts who was talking about it said, like, if it was a few feet this way or a few feet that way, pretty good chance like the building topples over, which is crazy to think about.
That's insane.
So he kind of made it his mission, and the 9/11 Commission report came out, I think in 2007, 2008 maybe, where they talked about, who should have known what and who should have known what when.
Yeah.
A lot of the reporting they feel like they missed with the CIA analyst. He was a ghost. It's hard to track these people in Pakistan and Afghanistan in these mountains, especially when you're working with sometimes like allied forces of like the Afghani, I think they call it the Afghani Alliance.
Wow.
Because the Al-Qaeda was based on the Sunni Muslim group. It was a specific, I guess, cultural, the Sunnis and the Shiites. They were the Sunnis, and it was just death to America. They wanted death to America.
Jeez.
But yeah, the United States government was funding a lot of these wars over in the Middle East, and sure enough, 2001 comes around, and just like that. And they talked about being in the war room with, George Bush, and he wants to rain fire down upon these people. It was not a
Yeah, I bet.
It was not a take it lightly. But then when Obama came in, because they couldn't find him, there was this battle called the Battle of Tora Bora, where the United States military bombed the shit. They said it was the most bombs we had dropped since like World War II, because there were like 1,000 Afghani rebels versus like 8 American soldiers, and they're like, we can't go in. We need a battalion.
Yes.
And so they
Were
decided
they
to
in
just,
like the middle of the valley?
Yeah.
And they're being kind of surrounded by gunfire up top of the mountains.
Yeah, and so they decided to just bomb the shit out of it, and because they had all these caves and tunnel systems, so they just every bomb. There was one.
Americans were in a bad spot. They needed it.
They wanted answers. They wanted revenge.
Yeah.
And so they were willing to do pretty much about anything to get it. And that's when Guantanamo Bay became a part of the picture, where off of U.S. soil they would take prisoners of war and torture them
for answers.
Yeah. And so there were people, on this documentary who were talking about leaving whatever role they were in because morally they weren't okay with torturing these people.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought about that because, imagine you're
crazy.
like a soldier and you're a part of that. It's like, what would you... And these people just bombed, like, one of the trademarks of our capitalism.
Jesus.
Our culture here, the World Trade Center in New York City. It's the biggest city on...
Right in the heart.
Yeah, right in the heart. And it's like someone does that to you, you have them captured, and you need answers because you know that they know where bin Laden's at. Like, you're going to do whatever you can do to get that answer out of them.
God.
And that's like the waterboarding. They would do 100-hour sleep deprivation.
Jeez.
They would leave them outside. They would blast, super loud music in these rooms for hours on end. Just make these people completely disoriented to get the answers. And whether you want to call that right or wrong, like, they started a war. And I think sometimes,
Yeah.
it is what it is.
It's really interesting. I need to watch this documentary because it's kind of been a while since I tapped into 9/11 stuff, but I always heard kind of the opposite side of it, where it's like this is the conspiracy side, that we actually initiated the attack to get the means of, justifying our reason to go over into the region to secure the oil resources. And from that perspective, it's like, geez, can you imagine like orchestrating an attack on your own people just to go over there because you need that oil because it's going to make us rich?
Yeah.
And it's like the Halliburton company was ran by Dick Cheney for a while, and then he comes over. Halliburton rebuilds all of Afghanistan after. So, man. I just think, so if it is that the case that they, orchestrated it to attack on New York so that we could go over there, and that we were in on it, and we were kind of in communication with Osama bin Laden, because that's what I heard.
Well, they did an interview with him, and I can't remember when, but John Miller, I think maybe his name was, Greg Miller. He did the interview with him in his cave.
Before?
I can't remember if it was before or if it was after. It was within the time frame. And he asked him, Osama bin Laden agreed to answer the questions, but he answered them in, I think, probably Farsi, which is maybe their language they were using. And he wasn't going to translate. They told him, no, we're not going to translate. So this American interviewer is sitting there.
Doesn't know what he's saying.
Just listening. He's like, I don't know what we have yet. And when they get back and they get the tapes and they get out of there, pretty much what he said is like, this was Osama bin Laden's way of like vocally declaring war on the United States. And he talked about all these different, what do they call those? Cells. Terrorist cells that just started popping up in Europe and Africa and Asia and the United States, and just shit started popping off. Where it used to just be kind of centrally located to the Al-Qaeda base in the Middle East. Now you had all these terrorist cells popping up.
Oh, God.
And that's where they were carrying out a lot of the other things. They bombed the. And that's what was weird. I saw a bunch of new footage I'd never seen of the planes crashing into the Twin Towers. And still the only clip of the Pentagon is that one from like that CCTV, which looks like it's at like the gate post, and you can't see anything.
Yeah,
and
that's
it's
a big
just like,
weird one. Is it the only thing they have of the Pentagon?
It looks more like a bomb went off than a plane.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they said about the towers too, like kind of imploded down.
Yeah.
From like the explosives that were in there, and the building owner, I think Larry Silverstein, takes out a huge insurance policy on the building like the day or two before it happens, and has a terrorist clause in there, so he get paid like tons of money based on that insurance thing. And it's crazy because like you don't know what to believe on the internet sometimes, but then it's saying like all the Jewish people were told not to go to 9/11 or the World Trade Center on that day. They just so happened to not go in for work. The owner of the building usually has breakfast there, decided not to go that day. And things just add up, where then you start questioning why. And then after that happens, it's full-blown war against terrorism. Let's send all our troops there. Let's military-industrial complex gets really going.
Yeah.
Kids die.
What?
Death, destruction. Money.
I think they made a movie too with Matt Damon. It may be called Green Light. And a lot of what people give shit to George Bush about the invasion on Iran or Afghanistan for the search of weapons of mass destruction, that was like the big fear.
Yes.
They're like, we feel like Al-Qaeda is now gravitating towards this next level, from, car bombs to flying planes, hijacking airliners to, maybe nuclear biochemical warfare. And so that was kind of the fear. And, that's a reasonable way to look at it. It's like, okay, these guys are taking the next step. What's the next step? And, if that's grounds for, hey, we're going to go fucking invade this place. Yeah. Sometimes you got to take that risk.
Yeah. And I personally don't know where I land on, like, believing that or not, because it's just like, we'll never know, but I'm very skeptical about all of the motives behind it.
Yeah.
And, they said George Bush was a part of the Skull and Bones Freemasonry group, and like a big part of that was kind of ending up, like, the result is the important part, like the method to get to the result doesn't matter. It's like the outcome's important, the inputs don't matter. Whatever it takes to get to our outcome here of securing oil resources or stopping terrorism, doesn't matter what it takes to get there, but we're gonna justify it.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, in that movie, like, Matt Damon's like a leader of his squadron or something, and they're going into this, they're doing these attacks, and they pretty much figure out like there's no weapons of mass destruction, and he's like not necessarily defying orders in the movie, but questioning, and kind of just paints a picture. I mean, that's what media in Hollywood felt. They're like, you guys lied about this, and we didn't want to go to war, and now here we are.
Oh, it's so crazy.
Yeah.
Ugh, it's a weird, crazy world.
Crazy world.
So that's on Netflix?
Yeah.
I gotta watch it.
3 episodes, really good stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's 25 years ago. Yeah, coming up on 25 years.
Yep.
But they felt like at the time, imagine like being on planes, going to the airport around that time frame. People had to have been so afraid to fly. Because I think after the fact, they captured someone else. Another airliner got stopped because one of the flight attendants found this dude that had explosives in his shoes.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Then it's like, all right, we got to really hunker down on the security measures.
TSA.
Let's open up all your bags, check everything.
Then the surveillance state began.
Yeah, let's start the NSA. Let's listen into phone calls because, we need to stop terrorism. It's like, yeah, because either way, if it's true or not, it definitely is justified because it makes sense. Like, why would you not? Like, you don't want to go over there and take revenge?
They don't want to protect more American lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't have this happen again. We need to have a security state. We need to, scan your ID every time you enter the airport. We need to know where you're going, who you're talking to. It's a big... I'm not saying it's right or wrong. Just it's an observation.
And so it was interesting. Once they captured him and killed him, they threw his body into the ocean. They dumped him in the ocean. Yeah. And that wasn't the plan originally because they wanted to bring him back to the United States, but they were worried that, people, if brought back to the United States, if some of these terror cells existed in the U.S., which they do, people would want to use it as an excuse to do more. If they've got him captured at like the CIA headquarters, like, let's go get his body to use as something, and it just leads to more. And so they said fuck it and dumped him in the ocean.
Jeez.
To be shark bait.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
But he was also, I didn't know this, that Osama bin Laden was like super rich. He was a
really?
Yeah, family was super rich from Saudi Arabia, and his net worth was like hundreds of millions of dollars. And so that's kind of how they could afford a lot of this stuff.
I got to look something up on ChatGPT before I say this, because I want to say he was working with the FBI before, or the CIA.
I don't think they mentioned that. I had always heard that he was like a CIA operative. Oh, yeah. It's a beautiful day.
This is going to be a good question for old chat.
ChatGPT.
Prior to...
It's 8:30. There's a lot of bugs out here this morning.
Yeah. Okay, so it says, during the Soviet-Afghan War, 1979 to 1989, the CIA, along with Pakistan's intelligence agency in Saudi Arabia, funded and supported the Mujahideen?
Yes.
Mujahideen to fight Soviet forces. Okay.
Yep.
Osama bin Laden, a wealthy Saudi national, also became involved in this war. He helped fund and organize Arab volunteers to support the Afghan Mujahideen. He founded Maktab al-Qamadat, which later evolved into Al-Qaeda. Did the CIA directly support bin Laden? No conclusive evidence has emerged that the CIA directly worked with or funded bin Laden. Declassified documents and credible historians have generally found that while the U.S. supported the Mujahideen broadly through Pakistan, there's no proof that bin Laden or his Arab fighters received direct support from the CIA. Okay, so some argue that the indirect support may have benefited him, but this is not formal. So, yeah, they're saying bottom line, no credible evidence that he was a partner. But there is a link there from the Soviet-Afghan War.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff.
So they kind of were considered allies a little bit. They had a common enemy.
That's right, yeah.
To get the Soviets out.
And then it turned into something.
They started attacking the hand that fed you.
Jeez.
We're going to rain hell on you. That's the other thing now. It's like, don't fuck with the United States.
No.
We got more bombs than you know.
Yeah.
More guns than you know. If
Yep.
you cause harm, it will come back and destroy everything you love.
Yeah. You see Mission Impossible's coming out?
Yeah.
You gonna go see it?
Oh, yeah, those are great movies.
Tom
I love watching
Cruise.
those movies.
Tom Cruise is just a beauty.
Yeah. One of the fine actors of our time.
He was in Deep Ellum, Dallas the other night.
Really?
Yeah. Walking around. People recorded him.
That'd be crazy to see Tom Cruise in person.
Yeah. I mean, he looks like he's in real good shape.
Yeah. I mean, he takes care of his body. I bet he's 60, upper 50s.
He's got some good hair, too.
Yeah. That's probably fake, maybe.
I don't know. He's got it all. He's in the Scientology, too.
Yeah. Which, when you hear him speak, he did interviews kind of before he was, like, big. And he was talking about some really, like, powerful and important things related to medication. It was weird. Yeah, like medication and like would be pretty, not defensive, that's not the right word, but like very strong in these interviews when some of these journalists or people interviewing him would kind of take it lightly or not really understand. And he's like, we're not
calling them out.
Yeah, he'd call
Yeah.
people out, and that would be, sorry, Mr. Cruise.
Yeah. But the whole Scientology thing too, I bet it helps him, because you hear about their like these like levels you have to go up, and every single level is like breaking down like what's holding you back about your life, like your childhood. And so it's kind of like killing your ego and like dealing with something that's real difficult and having to get through that to get what you want out of life. And it's just crazy, like people will take like what people will latch on to and use for themselves.
Yeah.
Religion or Scientology, drugs. It's crazy.
I mean, do you think he's one of the big dogs at the House of Scientology?
Yeah.
Him and John Travolta?
Yeah, definitely.
There's a bunch of them too. Sean Penn, I'm pretty sure.
Really?
And then the guy that was Hyde from That 70s Show, who then I think he got arrested for like rape.
Oh, jeez.
Ashton Kutcher knew and didn't tell.
Ashton Kutcher's a little friends with Diddy.
Ashton Kutcher's kind of interesting too, because he started that Acorns.
He did?
I think he was a part of that.
Oh, wow. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I'm going to delete my account.
Yeah. Let me find that out.
Oh, okay. So I saw this one experiment Rogan posted on Instagram. It was a Reddit AI experiment. Have you heard of that?
No.
Okay, so it's really interesting. Don't know what group employed these AI bots on Reddit, but have you ever spent any time on Reddit?
Yeah.
So it's a forum, and there's r/anything you want, right? r/plants, r/gardening, r/Dallas Mavericks, and it's a discussion board, and there's badges that you can get next to your name that kind of represent your, accomplishments on the side, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently there's a badge called the Delta badge that represents when you change someone's mind.
Oh.
So this AI group employed like a bunch of AI bots, and if you ever been on Reddit, it's the most left-leaning, like crazy site ever.
Yeah.
Everything is so anti anything on the right, which is actually crazy. But they found out that these accounts were getting so much Delta badges, and they're changing everyone's mind on like the political stuff or whatever argument that they were making. They were almost like 99.9% effective at changing a human being's mind.
That's crazy.
And no one knew they were AI. It was anonymous. And right now I think that they're in some sort of lawsuit now because of the ethics surrounding that, how it's kind of unethical to employ that and change people's minds. But I think like the larger conversation about it is a little bit more dark, with knowing how effective AI is at influencing or changing a human being's mind. That could be used for evil.
Yeah. And now it's on the video format.
Oh, God.
Where everything is just... Can't tell if videos are fake or real now. That's going to be a weird thing in the future. You're going to see things of yourself or... Yeah.
All these podcasts will be chopped up.
Yeah. People are going to be using this for bad reasons.
But it made me think about, like, this is definitely already being used, like, at the higher levels, how to influence, like, elections.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just employ some AI bots. Get them to change people's minds on... And then you're like, well, shit, how many of these are on Twitter? Influencing people one way or another.
Yeah.
And what's their goal? So...
Well, that was big, especially during COVID, too. You know, a lot of these buzzwords, you could look at the headlines from all these different media companies, and they'd all be using the same, like, phrases. And it's like these things are being told from some other source, and we're repeating the buzzwords to probably lock into people's mind. Like recently with with the Trump administration when they brought in, I think it was a South African.
The president there.
Yeah, and they were showing the videos of like the genocide and them claiming or advocating for genocide, and as soon as that finished, every media company, every TV source was using this word that Trump administration ambushed, and they played like 30 different TV newses, and they all had the same ambush, like claiming that Trump ambushed them.
What?
And it's just like, you have to understand that some of the word choice that people use, because so many people just read headlines nowadays. Like, if you get the right headline, like, people are just going to like log that into their brain, and that's the only thing they know about it, and that's what they're going to repeat to other people. It's kind of like that game of telephone. Like, you start with something, and then by the time it gets to the actual person, the story's completely changed.
And it's more insane, probably.
Yeah. And there was
oh, that's crazy.
I was watching this Tim Pool with this Adam Canover something. This guy that was actually on True TV or like Comedy Central.
Oh, really?
Adam Knows Everything or something.
Okay.
And he got exposed on Joe Rogan years back
Oh,
for just not knowing.
him.
So he went on Tim Pool, and they were debating, and he still believed that Trump said that Trump called the Nazis fine people when he was talking about like South Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
And
fine people.
Yeah. And so he still believed that, and he was saying all this shit. And Tim Pool was like, you claim you're a liberal. This has been debunked for 10 years now. And that's what Joe Biden ran his campaign on a second time around, was Trump calling them fine people. And that's just like completely false.
Yeah.
And a lot of these people still believe this, even though it's been debunked years later.
My, oh my. People are... We're so easily influenced,
Yeah.
for one way or another.
You want to call it?
I'm a little tired,
Yeah, I can tell you're tired. Another episode in the books.
Yep. One thing I want to say before we end is it's just been enjoyable to do the podcast and just rack up the episodes, because I feel like, here and there we have like a low episode. It's like, all right, we had a long day yesterday, wake up early.
Yeah.
But I think overall it's trending upward in the sense of like, I feel like we're becoming better at doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just enjoyable. So,
if you got anything you want us to discuss, guests you'd like to hear from, let us know. We're always open to talk to anyone. Anyone, yeah. We're gonna have Jackson Hall on probably in a little bit after finish the book. Yeah, that'll be some good stuff.
Wisdom, guru, meditation, psychedelics, all of that.
A little bit of name drop
good.
for myself in that book that you told me about.
That's true, yeah. He dropped your name.
So
some good stuff.
Yeah, we got some good stuff coming for y'all. Take care.
Peace.
Oh, yeah, I was a little